Another Hamilton landmark is on the verge of collapse tonight. The old Century Theatre at 19 Mary Street is under intense scrutiny right now. The two top floors have collapsed onto each other, and there is an obvious crack to the rear side wall of the building. Engineers are now determining whether or not to bring this heritage building down tomorrow.
I know right now sometimes they refer to it as this does have heritage elements to it, so we want to make sure public safety is first. We make sure that if we can save any of the heritage elements, we will do so, but we're talking with the building owner right now and working forward in terms of what we can do for this building, but there is heritage designation and there's a heritage permit on the building as well.
Now, police have restricted vehicle and pedestrian traffic at King and Mary Streets right now. That is between King and William. King and King William. We'll have more on this story coming up tonight at 11. Thanks, Scott. Well, after two floors collapsed inside the former Century Theatre in Hamilton, tonight it seems likely that they're less likely the facade of the historic downtown building can be saved. Our Lisa Hefner spoke with a city building official today.
The roof and top floors of the Century Theatre collapsed some time ago. You can't see the main damage from the ground. The city found out when it got an independent engineer's report that warned the building was unsafe.
Nobody in our department had any idea or any information pertaining to it, and as soon as we got the report, then we took the action that was necessary.
So the developer who wants to turn the historic theatre into apartments had to get his engineer out to the site to determine whether the whole thing has to come down now or whether the heritage designated facade can still be saved.
I have concerns that the amount of time that it'll take to stabilize it will not address the immediacy of the safety nature of the existing structure.
Normally, heritage facades like this are preserved before the building becomes unsafe, because at this point it's likely too dangerous for workers to get inside to build the retaining structure that would be necessary for this historic wall to be given new life.
And I would think that the Ministry of Labour would certainly have some concerns with anybody trying to perform that type of work.
The Century was on the city's list of vacant buildings to be inspected for structural dangers like this. But last March, owner Zoran Kakov got a demolition permit, so city engineers decided not to visit the site. As it stands, the building department is waiting for the owner's engineering report on saving the facade.
I've asked if possible if they could give me a verbal anytime throughout the weekend.
And then the demolition crews will be deployed. Lisa Hefner, CHCH News, Hamilton.
As we learned this week, the roof and top three floors of the historic Century Theatre in downtown Hamilton have collapsed, and the building will soon be reduced to rubble. Lisa Hefner has been following this story and today had a chance to speak with the developer who owns the property. Lisa?
Hi, Maria. So I spoke with Zoran Kakov this afternoon, and he told me that his engineer's final report won't be ready until Monday. But at this point, it looks as that all the experts are in agreement that it's simply too late to save the historic face of the Century Theatre on Mary Street, downtown Hamilton. It's too dangerous at this point, Maria. He also told me, to my surprise, that when he first bought the building 10 years ago, the roof had already begun to collapse.
Zoran Kakov says it will take as many as 5 weeks to demolish the Century Theatre, but that work could begin within the next week.
It is unsafe, and it would seem to make more sense to demolish the building rather than to save the facade and then replicate it during the construction to look identical to the original building.
Okay. How dangerous is it at this point? Do you have any understanding from your engineer if people in neighboring buildings, for example, should be concerned?
There's no immediate risk to anyone. The building, when we originally purchased it about 10 years ago, the roof was already collapsed internally. The building, the theater was built in 1913, and the walls are more than 2 feet thick.
However, he says as winters have gone by, the structural integrity of the building has deteriorated.
But no one can predict when and if the building will collapse on its own.
Why has it been 10 years, sir, that the building nothing's happened there yet?
Well, a lot has happened. We have a building permit for 59 condo loft apartments.
He says he has no advice to city officials to make the process smoother.
So that we don't have buildings with historic significance actually crumbling, as years pass.
Well, of course, there's always more that can be done, but, it's difficult to have the city force private owners to develop something.
Kokov says that current city programs to waive development fees and provide interest-free loans and other incentives for downtown developers are really helping. He says that although timing and market conditions are also factors, Maria, he wouldn't have been interested ever in developing this property without those incentives. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Lisa Hefner.